we're like, well, the producer was like, this would be perfect for Scott. And I go, we're like, wow, but this is like a super special appearance by kind of thing. It's like a surprise special appearance. And we were kind of, look, me and the writers, me and Chad were talking about it. We still talk about it. We're like, man, either people are gonna hate this and go, dude, or they're gonna go, whoa, this is trippy. So
All right, let's do this.
all
Hey,
right,
what's going on?
how
My
you doing,
name
man?
is I am blessed, my guy. I'm Nigeria Chambers from Big Gold Belt Media and Christian. It's a pleasure to talk to you about your new film, Lights Out, which is going to be available in theaters, on demand, and digital February 16th. And yes, that is Lights Out, the 2024 version, not the other horror film that I actually didn't mind that one as well too, but this one right here, my guy.
Yeah, every time
Listen,
I like Google lights up.
yeah, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. If I could get one of the PR folks to get up on this call, they'll tell you that. As soon as I saw this, I jumped all over it. Been a fan of your work. This is easily your best project to date. But listen, the cast, dude, like nobody gets this star-studded type of cast. And not only is that already a win, but the way how you were able to introduce each character, giving everybody something to work with, again, easily your best work today. I got to ask you as the director, man, taking that in, having the likes of Frank Grillo, alongside of the man, Scott Atkins, and the list goes on and on and on, even down to Cowboy Cerrone, huge UFC fan, MMA fan. How does it feel for you to have so many toys available for your project?
I mean, look, it's like, when you have like your Star Wars Dream Team toys and you're like, I got Boba Fett, I got Han Solo, I got Luke, like you got the All Stars. So it's kind of like an all-star indie, an indie action all-star team, you know what I mean? So it's like you put all the MVPs together and you got that dream team. So no, it is one of those things. And like that, again, that's another big credit to Brandon Burrows, the producer. He was able to really assemble a phenomenal cast for this. And for me, it was like every new person that signed on was awesome. And, we had great chemistry together as well. And so, some people I worked with before, some people were all new, or some people were already friends that we were wanting to work with. So it was really dope. And it was just one of those things where, especially what's interesting was that, I never expected it to be in the fight genre movie for the All Stars to come together. But, when I took this project on, it was definitely one of those things where it's like, all right, the challenge for this, not just is to make it was some like, how do I make a contemporary character driven fight movie like for that? So it doesn't feel like some cheesy 80s thing,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, even though it's like has that vibe, I definitely try to like, we definitely try to elevate this and make it our own.
No doubt, dude. And I wish I could just go over the entire cast, but like even names like Amori, Juju being a part of it, Makai, Phifer, and I'm just like, there's no way this is all going to work. I want to talk a little bit about the third act
That's
because
funny. There's no way.
it's just no way. And obviously, I'm targeting like I can't wait for Scott to enter the film. And the introduction in the third act, I literally jumped out of my seat and I was like, heck yeah! As soon as Frank Grillo's character said, "Hey, I got a friend to call
Yeah.
on to help us in this situation." Talk about your writers here, Chad and Gary. When you saw that part of the script and saw that's how you was going to introduce Scott's character, what was sort of your level of excitement for that?
Well, it's super excited because like we had just worked with Scott on Section 8. We were just coming off of like we shot this 2 years ago. So it's like we were just coming off of Section 8. We went back to back with this. And so when we had this character and this character kind of was like reintroduced and it was like a new idea to the script. We're like, well, the producer was like, this would be perfect for Scott. And I go, we're like, wow, but this is like a super special appearance by kind of thing. It's like a surprise special appearance. And we were kind of, look, me and the writers, me and Chad were talking about it. We still talk about it. We're like, man, either people are gonna hate this and go, dude, or they're gonna go, whoa, this is trippy. So we were like, because I think when the press came out, it's like Scott and Frank Grillo in a movie, and everybody's like, the press latched on to some press. They're like, Frank and Scott are gonna fight. And I'm like, no, they're not. And I'm like, no, they're not going to fight. So
Yeah.
I'm like, but it's going to be cool. And again, it kind of it still was a great way to pay off. Like, look, Scott's a phenomenal actor. and he's a
Yeah.
phenomenal talent, and he's a phenomenal martial artist. So we were trying to get all those things into play. But I think to kind of keep in with the tone of the movie, it really was a character-driven piece of why
Yeah.
he did and how
Yep.
he ultimately ends his character arc.
Yeah, unless you're blind. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of hand-to-hand combat in there. There's a mixed martial arts presence in the film, so like obviously you have those moments there. But again, unless you're blind or just very incompetent about how movie structures work, like yes, it's all character driven. Because if you thought it was just combat driven, then what do you call those specifically combat moments in the film? With this whole other blanketed approach around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, even having Dermot and Jamie, I mean, God, I saw this cast. I was like, well, this dude is going for broke right now.
Look,
How do you put together this cast?
Look, I think that's the kind of mad genius of the producer who's great. We've done a few together now, and it's just like he really is able to assemble a great ensemble. And obviously it's my job to take that ensemble and make it work. It's almost like, here you go, and then make it work. And so it was, and it's one of those things where it's like, you kind of get called up, so you get called up to the leagues, you're like, yeah. Time, so it was definitely one of those. I'm like, yeah, how to introduce everybody and make sure everybody stands on their own and make sure the character is elevated to their place.
Exactly, and totally agree. Now, two things I really want to get in there. Two small little questions and a bigger question. The X-ray shots. As a huge Mortal Kombat fan, I saw that. I was like, oh, listen, this guy Christian is somebody I need to hang with, because beyond that, I know there's got to be a level of fandom and appreciation to the game, because that's truly where a lot of audiences and anybody who loves anything with combat or just the legendary IP of Mortal Kombat have seen this. So to see this in the movie, which is strange to say, I watch a lot of action films. I have not seen this in a very long time. So seeing that made me excited. What was your approach with that?
Well, it was late. It was like in the 11th hour of the editing, and it was a late idea. And it was one of those things where, like, again, for me, because I was so cautious about this movie not going south on like the cheesy territory. It's like I was trying to keep it like grounded, keep it real, keep it cool, keep it contemporary, and not make it feel like some like tropey shit. Like when this idea came up, Brandon, the producer, was like, "Why don't we try this?" And he did it, and I was like, "Man, I don't know." We went back and forth on it. We're like, "Okay, yes, no." And then we watched it, and we're like, "I think it'll work." And we watched it again over and over, like, "Man, I think it'll work." We're kind of like, it's just enough. It wasn't overkill. It wasn't like, there was no other place in the movie. It's just enough. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm down with it. Let's go for it. Like, it was just enough for it to work. And I think it works also story-wise, because at the end, when they kill the dude in the end, the arena, the X-ray is what kind of like really made you go, okay, that's how he died. So it really kind of helped give every little. It's almost like the X-ray idea had its own little arc too. So I was down with it at the end. I was like, okay, I can go with this. So I'm glad we did, because I think it gives it a little bit of fun to the movie, gives it a little bit of juice. And then man, you're like the sixth person today that said they're about it. So I was like, I'm so glad that worked.
Yeah, and
we were on the fence. We're like, man, I don't know.
And if there's any silly fans out there that will question about one's death in a movie, like there's not actual fighters and stunt choreographers to the utmost tier here that would not be able to say, oh, that actually could happen. Right. Just keep your stupid comments to yourself at that point, folks. Something very important in the film is focused around Duffy and this homeless vet suffering through PTSD. And while it is a very important part to this character, it's also something very pivotal in society. So I'm wondering what were some of your creative responsibilities that you've taken in order to implement into this story and do it with justice?
Well, again, trying to maintain this idea of trying to create not just every other paint by numbers fight movie, it was like, hey, we have to make Duffy a real character. We have to make him somebody that is, he's haunted by his past, he suffers by his past, and that's kind of plays into this idea of him being kind of this drifter character and this, that, and the other. And you also see why he wouldn't have any more ties. It's like, man, you're jaded to society, you're jaded to the world, all this, the other. I think that's the power of what this pieces when it comes to this movie. It's like
Yeah.
you have somebody that this movie for me is about ultimately, like when we were going through, I'm like, look, this is about connection. It's about a guy who has no connections to anything. He has no material possessions, there's no family, no this, no that. And he finds a connection, an unlikely connection again through Mackay and his family. And because of that, he's like, I'm going to go to bat for this guy, you know. And I think that kind of plays into this brotherhood of the military. You know what I mean? Brother that he lost and the military connections of this, that, and the other. So I think those are the motifs that we are really trying to like dig down deep and make sure that this helps support a fight movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, yeah, it's a fight movie. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, to keep in line with, you know, the 80s movies that I grew up loving, man, all them movies, they took their stuff 100% serious.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Like they weren't like, oh, I'm gonna make a stupid movie about a muscle guy fighting an alien. You're like, no, they were serious. Like the script was serious. Nobody thought it was silly. They were like, we're making a serious movie. So same thing with this. We definitely wanted to take it serious and not just like, oh, it's just another silly fight movie.
Yeah. All right, listen, final question here. I mentioned it earlier. Clearly, you got to be a combat sports fan. You've had the likes of Rampage Jackson. Obviously, you got Donald Cowboy Cerrone in this. Because I'm a fair person here and I want everybody to go out and check out the film February 16th. But I also need you to go back to work because you make films for me. Yeah. Is there anybody else in the combat sports pool that you would love and be able to have a part of your projects? Or is there anybody that you're just a fan of in combat sports, period, right now?
Man, I don't know. I have to give that one a thought. Like, it's something that would be interesting. Like, obviously, Roadhouse just came out with Connor and all that stuff, and that's fun. You know, because you could tell Connor just being Connor in that trailer. You're like
1,000%.
So it's kind of like, what would that be? You know, so I don't know. I wouldn't know. I mean, I don't have an answer for that one. I'll think about it.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll keep in touch because I know you're going to keep working. I'm going to keep tuning in. I'm going to keep asking these lovely people to connect us for these chats. But until then, I need folks to check out the 2024 movie Lights Out in theaters, on demand, digital, February 16th. Christian, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Ridgway.